Shalom, shalom, Yisrael. This is Yehonatan Dawid with you here. I'm going to walk into my office, and as I promised, I want to show you what I believe will be the image of the beast. This is my humble office here that I'm showing you, and just look around. Not much to show, really. Not much to show. And tell me, what do you see that may be that image? So let me set myself up here. There we go. And hopefully my allergies won't be acting up. You see the window there. And I closed the window to help cut down on my allergies. So today, last week we talked about a couple of things. Here is a mind of wisdom, Chachma, and we talked about keeping it simple. To understand wisdom, we must keep it simple, saints. Now, this week, we're going to talk about the beast and that woman who sits on the beast, and we want to talk about Babylon. Where is Babylon? Now, what did you see in my office that you think could qualify as the image of the beast? The beast is not a single entity, because the book says that those who live on the earth are commanded to make an image of the beast. So how are you going to make an image? You have to be a pretty good artist to even make an image of my face. So what image do you think can be made by anybody? The first image ever made was by the hands of Yahweh. When he made Adam, taking a clump of the earth, and he formed him, and he made him. And made him after the image of himself. Of course, he didn't worship it. He made Adam and said, I am Yahweh, your Elohim. So that was the first image ever made. And it was made after Yahweh. Then he commanded us not to do such a thing. Do not make any images. So the beast, obviously we cannot make an image of that. So what would that image be? It's of his system. What do you see right here in my office? It's the number one symbol on earth. Here it is right here. And that can be made by any third grade child in art class. They have us doing these things in art class all the time. You get a clump of clay or something and you can form a ball. Making a ball is the easiest thing to make. And the number one most recognized image in the brains of all living creatures is a man's face, symbolized by two eyes and a mouth. So to further this image, what could be put on it is two eyes and a mouth, the face of a man. But the globe is an image of this world system. Aren't we educated and taught that the earth looks like that and not like this? Isn't that what we're taught? And it's unoffensive. The entire world and all religions agree to that image. The second most popular image in the world is the cross. But that's offensive to a lot of other religions. But no religion is offended by the globe. It could be Jews, Islam, Christianity. They all accept the globe, but they don't all accept the cross. All those Eastern religions, Taoism, Buddhism, they don't accept the cross, but they all accept that image. And those who live on the earth will be commanded to make that image. And it's easy to do. Very easy. And you can put it around a chain, around a neck, a bracelet around a wrist. It is easy to do, easy to make by any child. let's go on with today's lesson. My allergies are acting up with me. I got the window closed, but okay. So we talked about how prophecy is cyclical. I'm going to close this. Prophecy is not predictive, but it is cyclical. And when we look at the book of Daniel and the book of Revelations, we should understand that what they're prophesying affects us and it mirrors us today. If we understand that prophecy is cyclical, we can understand today what they talked about then. Is a bird a prophet because a bird knows when to fly down south? Are ants prophets because they know when to gather food and when to work real hard? They go far and wide during the spring and summer because they know winter is coming. Are they prophets? No, they have discernment to their world around them and what's going to happen. You should have discernment. You should be able to know what's going to happen down the line based on cycles and patterns of history. The mark, the image, and the beast are three different things. They're not the same thing. You go to Revelation 14:9, it mentions all three of them at the same time. The beast, of course, is run by Shaitan, but the beast is a system. It is the world system, the system of governance, how the world is operating, how the world operates. That's the system. The mark is his blood. Remember, those who accept the mark cannot die. Shaitan got that blood from the tree of good and evil, the tree of Towa Ra. He ate the fruit, taking Yahweh's blood. He lives eternally. Of course, he's going to be burning in hell, in the lake of fire eternally, but he will be living eternally, burning in hell. And all those who take that blood, take that mark. But the image is there. The image that represents his world. That is not the world Yahweh created. Yahweh did not create a ball spinning and twirling in the earth and revolving around the sun. Yahweh did not create that. Shaitan created that. That's his image of our world, and that's the one he wants us to buy into. Go law 13:14. And he deceives those who live on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast. This is the false prophet doing those signs in the sight of the beast, deceiving the world. And it says those who live on the earth, by telling them who live on the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. The image is the globe. Now, it says those who live on the earth. Well, don't you and I live on the earth? But remember, the sixth seal is that worldwide earthquake. After the earthquake, we got 3.5 years to get to Zion. So even though we are on the earth, we do not live on this earth. We do not live on this earth. We are moving. We are leaving. We are sojourners of the earth. We are not, those who live on the earth are those who are waiting for things to get back to normal. Those who live on the earth are those who are trusting in the beastly system and following the false prophet to get things back to normal. And that's what's going on right now today in so-called 2nd of August 2020. And during this COVID crisis, people can't wait to get back to normal. They want to get off to work and go to happy hour. They want to go back to the movies. They want to enjoy life as it was before. As if there was no sadness before. As if there was no heartbreak before. As if the world was all right and good. Your fathers and sons and brothers' blood wasn't flowing down the streets. There was no corruption in politics. There were no wars. There was no blighted communities. There was no poverty. But of course we know that all those things did exist before COVID. So why are we fighting so hard to get back to that, to get over COVID and get back to that? That's what's going to happen after this earthquake. The world is going to have faith in the system to get it back to normal after that earthquake. Exodus 20:4. You will not make for yourself a carved image of any likeness or anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. So, the first image ever made was man by the hands of Yahweh. And he took a clump of dust and dirt, and he made us after his image. And he said, we would not do that. Not any image of heaven above, or on the earth, or under the earth. Make no image. So when Shaitan orders this to those who live on the earth, he gets 3 commandments broken in one. He says, I am Allah your God. That's what he says. I am Yah your God. I am Allah your God. That's going to bring in all the religions. People aren't offended with the name of Yahweh. Take your thumbs out and Google on your phone, what is the name of God? It says Yahweh. So people are accepting that. Jews call on God. Islam, they call on God. And what's the second commandment Shaitan has you break? Make an image. He's going to say, make this image. And it's easy to make that image. It is easy to make an image of the globe. And then to make it even stronger into the minds of man, put 2 eyes and a nose on it, which is the image of a man's face. So he tells you to make an image. And remember, the false prophet who commands this under the orders of Shaitan, the beastly system, he did not gain his authority and power over the world through war. He did it through the sporting world. Remember, we talked about the bow. It had nothing to do with war and battle. He did it with flattery and worldly wisdom, and that's how he got control of the world. And then he says, peace and safety to all the world in the middle of that week. In the 3.5-year period of the 7 weeks, he declares peace and safety. That's when the 6th seal happens and the earthquake happens. Please contact me for transcripts on all of these messages, going back to Sheba HaKalim, the 7 churches. Then the next commandment he gets the world, those who live on the world to break, is blasphemy. Because when you talk about Yahweh, your God, that is blasphemy. Yahweh Shua is against mixing. He doesn't like you mixing in any way, even mixing your clothes. He said, even when you plow your earth, do not mix the animals together. He's against mixing. So if you're going to use his name, Yahweh, and then mix it with pagan names, that's blasphemy. So 3 commandments are broken right there. When he says, I'm Yahweh your God, and he says, make an image, and he says, Yahweh God, that's blasphemy. So you get everything together. Now here's the thing. Even your Hebrew preachers aren't telling you this. Yahweh is not, you don't get saved through Yahweh. Yahweh is judgment. Yahweh Shua is your salvation. We get salvation through Yahweh Shua. So when he talks about Yahweh your God, that is not just salvation. The separation that separates Yahweh's people is the Kodesh name of Yahweh Shua. Yahweh Shua is salvation. There is no name given to men under heaven by which we must be saved. At the name of Yahweh Shua, every knee will bow, things in heaven, things on earth, and things under the earth. The Yahweh Shua is HaMashiach. That is keeping it simple, saints. That's the simple as that. Any child that's taught that will believe that. When we get grown and get degrees and all that, then we start mixing that and thinking we know more than Yahweh does. If we keep it simple like that, we will not be deceived. So again, talk about wanting to get things back the way it was. When we left Mizraim, we complained. We complained even after all those miracles that got us out of Mizraim, those 10 miracles. And then even after going through the sea of reeds, we complained. We wanted to go back to Mizraim. Oh, what kind of short memory we must have had to go back to Mizraim for the fish and the leeks and the onions. What about the slavery and the whips and the chains and putting your children in the wall? What about that? That's what's happening today. We want to get past this COVID and go back to yesterday's world, as if your blood wasn't being spilled down the streets, as if you weren't being misidentified and treated wrong, as if there wasn't corruption and unemployment and poverty. So Shaitan is the beast, and Israel, we talked about this last week, is the foundation of all the religions. And that's what your Hebrew preachers are not teaching. Your Hebrew preachers are not letting you know that Israel is the mother of all the religions. She is the woman on the beast. She is the whore. And this is identified in the Hebrew word yom. Yom. Even our Hebrew preachers are not letting us know what this sea is. Right now, all the religions are all pointing the fingers at other religions, saying that they are in apostasy. You have preachers preaching in the name of Lord God Jesus Christ, calling other preachers false prophets. Now, there's not a whole lot of things funnier than that. For a man to be preaching in the name of Lord God Jesus Christ, talking about false preachers and false teachers. So what is Yom? Yom is not other people. It is Israel. It is all denominations. Yisrael is apostate. Yisrael is the woman on the beast. She is apostate. This is what your Hebrew preachers need to be sharing with you. So the book of Revelations cannot be known, cannot be understood unless you keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. He said to the 7 Hakalim, the Sheba Hakalim, if you have an ear to hear, hear. Why? Because he knew they wanted to disperse. They took on the religions of all those others around them. These 7 so-called churches were all in modern-day Turkey. What are they believing up there now? Only the Hakalim of Philadelphia remained faithful. They went down south. They went down south of Israel. They went down in what I call the land of Lot. And they are hiding down there now. The other 6 bled out and took on the religion of all the others around them. And they became what we are today. We are the product, we are the children of the other 6 churches. Now, the book of Revelation talks about these 7 mountains. The 7 mountains. Again, you get a lot of misinformation about what these 7 mountains are. How about Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism? How about that? They all come from Hebraism. They all come from Israel. Genesis 17:5. No longer will your name be called Abram, high father, but your name will be Abraham, high father of many nations, because I have made you the father of many nations. Genesis 17:9. So if Yahweh is saying that your name is going to be Abraham because I made you the father of all the nations, then where do these people come from? Where does everyone come from? Including Europe. They came from Abraham. New Zealand, Australia, everywhere came from Abraham. That's what the book says. Genesis 17:9. And Elohim said to Abraham, as for you, you will keep my covenant, and you and your descendants after you throughout their generations. So, what was the covenant? This covenant. Genesis 17:23. So Abraham took Ishmael, his son, all who were born in his house, and all who were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin that very same day, as Elohim had said to him. So that same day, talk about a long day of work, the same day that Yahweh said, you will keep my covenant, Abraham circumcised every male in his camp. Every male. As soon as it was firstborn male, all the way up to however old they were. Abraham himself was almost 100 years old. He circumcised every male, which brought them under the covenant. He didn't even have his own son of the covenant at that time. So that's important. Genesis 21:3. So every male, right? So that means his son Ishmael, who came through Hagar. Hagar was Egyptian. So you got Ishmael, who had 12 sons, and then they all went off to the east. So you got all those people that come from Abraham from Ishmael, who went off to the east, all right? Then you have all the males that were in Abraham's camp. Many of them were Egyptians, many of them were Canaanites, Anakim, which was giants. All these people were circumcised. They all had sons, and they dispersed all over the earth. They were under Abraham. They didn't come from his seed, but they were under Abraham, and they were under the covenant, and they dispersed over the whole earth. Then you have Keturah. Remember, Keturah, he married after Sarah, mother Sarah, passed away. Then with Keturah, he had sons. Now, they went down south. Okay, he's paid them. She has 6 sons. They went down south, and they populated all of what we call Africa. Africa. The biggest continent on earth. They populated Africa, Keturah's kids. Then, what do you have? Genesis 21:3. Isaac. You have Isaac. And then Isaac is the first one circumcised on the 8th day. Isaac was circumcised on the 8th day. That means you had those who were circumcised before. That's a fleshly covenant. Then you have Isaac and those after him circumcised on the 8th day. That is the spiritual covenant. So that's a separation there. So you have flesh versus heart, any age of being circumcised versus the 8th day. We're not finished populating this earth here. We're not finished. You got Esau and Jacob. Esau and all his seed mixed with anybody. Esau had 5 sons, 5 foundational sons. And then he mixes with anybody. He mixed with everybody. The Ishmael, the Egyptians, Hagar. He mixed with all these sons. Anything that came past his nose, he jumped on. So then you have that all over the earth. Then you have Jacob and all his Hebraic offshoots. Jacob had 12 sons, and they go down south. They mix with Keturah's kids. So you got Keturah down south in Misra in Africa, and you got Jacob down south in Africa. Then you see our foundational fathers have a long history with women from Misraim. You got Hagar, you got Keturah, you got Asenath. Yusuf, remember Yusuf married Asenath and had Ephraim and Manasseh. So you have Ephraim and Manasseh who are half Egyptian. And we know that Yaakov blessed them both. Manasseh had a bountiful blessing, and Ephraim had a double blessing. And they populated all of the earth. The whole earth was populated by these two who were half Egyptian. So you got the whole world being populated through the stones of Abraham. Now, traditionally we got to realize that the Hebrew genealogy is transferred through the mother. Okay, so Hebrew genealogy is via the matrilineal descent, but the priesthood is the patrilineal descent. So if you want to be classically Hebrew, they have to come from a Hebrew mother. But the promise of the priesthood can come from the seed of the man. But the seed of the mother is the one that crushes the Shaitan's head. Now, again, going back to those 7 mountains. You look on this more accurate map of the earth, and you have Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia. So when the Revelation talks about these 7 mountains, again, that can be Abraham's seed covering the earth. We know that 7 mountains can be governments, but it also can be these 7 big land masses covering the whole earth. The entire globe, or the earth, is covered with the seed of Abraham and all those offspring. Golah 1:20. The mystery of the 7 stars which you saw in my right hand, and the 7 golden lampstands. The 7 stars are the Malachim of Sheba HaKalim, and the 7 lampstands which you saw are the Sheba HaKalim. Now, I implore you to contact me to get the transcripts of Sheba HaKalim. Why did I start off with that? Because it takes us to where we are today, August the 2nd, 2020, to where the Shishah HaKalim have populated the earth and brought in and hoard with the religions of the whole earth. And that's where we are today. This is why Yahweh said repeatedly over and over and over again, I think 12 times to them, have an ear and hear. Don't mix. Keep it simple. Stick to what I'm telling you. They didn't, and here we are today over the whole earth with all these religions that we have. Matthew 13:11, it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. So Yehonatan Dawid is for you right now. I have been given the knowledge of the mystery of the kingdom. Why? Because I have the testimony of Yahweh Shua, and I believe in him, and him only, unleavened. It has been given to you the same. We should not be lost when it comes to Daniel Revelations. We should understand this book, all these books, if you have the testimony of Yahweh Shua. Obviously, Revelation 17:5 cannot be talking about ancient Babylon. Ancient Babylon is a heap of rubble right now. So when it talks about Babylon, it's talking about us right here, right now in America. Golah 17:6. I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahweh Shua. And when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement. Now, Yochanan wrote this in about 96 AD. And he saw the vision of us here today. Today, right here. And he marveled. He was amazed because he could not recognize Yisrael. The Yisrael he knew while he was penning those letters that he wrote was totally unrecognizable to us today. They look totally different. There's no connection between the two. And in his amazement, he marveled at that. We look totally different. Everything you're reading about in history, I have books over here, and I don't have a great library, as you see, very humble. I have about 66 books. Interestingly enough, there's 66 books in the Bible. And most of these books are Bibles. 2/3 are Bibles and concordances. Very few books do I have because it doesn't take much. It only takes one book, the Torah, to know everything you need to know. You don't need a whole lot of books. You don't need shelves and shelves and shelves and rooms and rooms and rooms of books. You only need one. We have others to help us out. So he marveled at how we changed so much. Jeremiah 2:21. Yet I have planted you a noble vine, a seed of highest quality. How then have you turned before me into the degenerate plant of an alien vine? Jeremiah says we have turned into Yahweh planted a noble vine. a worthy one. He said, we have turned to a degenerate alien vine. The Hebrew word for degenerate is soor. Soor. And it means degraded. It means deteriorated. We have deteriorated so much so that Yochanan did not even recognize us. And then the Hebrew word for alien is nakri. And nakri means strange, non-relative, adulterous, different. If you call your children in to eat and they sit at the table and then you see someone else sitting there, someone who's nakri, you say, who is this? He's an alien. He's strange. He's different. He's not related. Nakri means not related. Yochanan and Jeremiah said the Hebrews today are not related to the ones that we know of. They're not the same. Stop beating your chest with these black Hebrew Israelites talking about black and proud. You're not related to these Hebrews back then. There's no connection. That's what the book says. This is my whole ministry that Yahweh gave me. Yahweh for Christians is exactly this: to teach only Yahweh Shua to Yahweh's people. To Yahweh's people, to get us back to where we're supposed to be. Original words, original truth. Deuteronomy 4, 5 through 9. Surely I have taught you statutes and judgments, just as Yahweh Elohim commanded me, that you should conduct yourself according to them in the land which you go to possess. Therefore, be careful to observe them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the peoples, who will hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Because what great nation is there that has Elohim so near to it as Yahweh Almighty One is to us, for whatever reason we may call on him? And what great nation is there that has such statutes and righteous judgments as we have in this law, which I set before you this day? So this is Moshe saying, who else has this? I'm teaching you good stuff that came from the mouth of Yahweh. Be careful. Keep it simple. Be careful, focus, and observe these. Don't be flippant. Don't be light and catchy with phrases and sloganeering. Yahweh is near to us. He's here at your mouth. He's here at your mouth. So you can speak his name, and that power is there today. What are we doing? We are not being careful of this. We have strayed from this. He says that keeping it simple, saints, is your wisdom. Other people will look and say, wow, who else is like that? They will marvel at us. The last time that happened, and the only time that happened, was in the height of Shlomo, when all the world came to him for wisdom. The whole world acknowledged Yahweh and who Yahweh's people were and how to get that knowledge and wisdom. And to this day, every nation on earth, in some form or fashion, all of their legal systems, all of their court systems have plagiarized the Torah. But they don't acknowledge you. They don't see you in it because you are not living by the wisdom of it. You're too busy eating and drinking and doing things of the world, not living according to the Torah. You're not living according to the Torah. We're not showing the world wisdom. We're not teaching them this. We're not doing it. We have assimilated. We have brought into the world religion. We have bled out and looked just like them. Israel is the whore on the beast. And he says, Jeremiah says that we are degenerate. We've deteriorated. And we are alien. We are not family. We do not look like the family, the original family. And Moshe said that we need to keep this Torah because it is Hakmah, wisdom. In the beginning, Yahweh created heaven and earth. But God created the globe. Stop all this black versus white, Jew versus Greek. Stop all this black Israelite, Hebrew, and black power stuff. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. Yahweh Shua never identified his children as black. Never. Never. You're either Sadiq or you're not Sadiq. You're either clean or you're dirty. You're either going to keep the Torah or you're not. Go law 18:2. These allergies are really getting to me. I got the window closed. Go law 18:2. And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. After the sixth seal, after that earthquake cracks the earth, that's the fall of Babylon. Most of the damage happens here. Every nation is going to be affected in some measure or another, but this land is totally demolished. And that's important to note, because this land is Babylon, and it is fallen. This is the land where every creature and bird can come to and nest. Whatever you believe, whatever you attest, whatever you profess, whatever you confess, you can do it right here. It is a hot mess. And this is the modern Babylon. Come out of it. You're going to have 3.5 years to do that after that earthquake to come out of it. This social media, all electronics, all of inventions are all going to be destroyed. You're going to have to Shema and have Ruach HaKodesh to hear the Most High, to move, to get out, to get away. Those who live on the earth, who still want things to go back to where it was, will stay and remain and try to rebuild here. Matthew 23:31-39. Therefore you are witnesses against yourselves that you are the sons of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up then the measure of your father's guilt. Serpents, brood of vipers, how can you escape the condemnation of hell? Therefore, indeed, I send you prophets, wise men, and scribes. Some of them you will kill and execute, and some of them you will scourge in your synagogues, and persecute from city to city, that you may come, all the righteous blood shed on the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Surely I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, the one who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her, how often I wanted to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. See, your house is left to you desolate, because I say to you, you will see me no more until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. He did not say Jehovah. I think Yahweh Shua knows who his father is. Remember, there was no J for almost 1,600 years after he said this. And he says that Babylon and these children here stoned the prophets, and they've always done it. And then they want to build monuments and museums. Look at all these great black leaders, and we have all these museums, and the Native Americans have museums, and all these monuments, and they want to put us on the money. Why? Why? It's only a testimony that they killed us. They killed Yahweh's people, and now, today, they want to honor them. Testimony against themselves as murderers of Yahweh Shua and his people. But how did that happen? Remember, we populated the whole earth. Daniel 7 talks about the bear with the ribs in his mouth. And this is self-hatred. The bear, of course, is Israel. This is infighting and self-hatred. There's no way on the earth that nobody from Europe or Italy or anywhere could have come into Africa and taken out hundreds of millions of souls and done a South Atlantic, cross-Atlantic slave trade. There's no way. They didn't have the power, the might, the ingenuity, the spirit, the strength, none of that, unless they were sold out by Israel, by the Ishmaelites, by Esau, by Mitzrayim, all in cahoots, fighting one another, dividing and conquering one another, and sold us out for nothing. Sold us out for nothing, and that's how we got over here. And we are the ones responsible for this. Stop hating people because of their color when you are the ones, we are the ones guilty of our plight and where we are. We are the ones guilty. Stop with this Jew this and white that when we are the ones guilty. Stop with this black power and all this stuff. And I'm black and I'm proud. Yahweh should never identify his people as black. You're either righteous or filthy. You're either going to follow the Torah or you're not. You're either going to go to the mercy seat of Yahweh or you're going to go through the white throne judgment of Yahweh. I suggest you go through the mercy seat of Yahweh. So we are the ones that bloodthirsty. Yahweh said this generation is the last generation. And we call this the year of return. And then we came right back. The 17th generation is the last generation. And Yahweh said when he comes, he will not find any faith on the earth. This generation will pay for all their bloodthirstiness for the past thousands of years. Thousands of years. So I want us to realize this, to stop pointing fingers at other people, that Yisrael is the whore on the beast. We're the ones that stoned Yahweh. We took down our Peshach lambs off our shoulders, stoned the Messiah, put him back on the lamb back on our shoulders, which represented him, and went on to the temple to keep Passover. Hypocrites, brood of vipers, Yisrael. That's what it is. I want to end it right here. We're going to try to talk about the two witnesses next week and the three angels' message. Until then, we with you here, yahwehchris@gmail.com. Shalom, shalom. Contact me for transcripts so you can read it and connect all the dots. There is your image. And the whole world's going to be commanded to make it. Easy thing to make. Don't do it. And don't accept the blood. That is his mark. Until next week, shalom, shalom.